Hi guys, Kat here with the Standing Stone podcast, and I have a special guest with me today, Tina Metcalf from 70 Outfitters, and she has a puppy from our Hazel Shooter litter. Her name is Jade, and a couple other dogs along with her. It has been a long but wild ride of this relationship, and she's out here for our Versatile Dog seminar, and we're going to catch up a little bit today, talking about how to have a work-life dog training balance, because it's not that easy. Tina, I'm glad you're here in Kansas. It's been a little while.
I know. I'm so excited. I was so excited for this one. I've been trying for a year, literally a year.
Well, you came out with Mike the first time that we met you. That's got to be like 3 years ago now?
It was almost 5. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, that's how I am when I try and think about how long ago something is. I always say, I don't know, that dog's probably about 3 years old. And they're like, actually, it's like 7. I'm like, how did that happen? I do the same thing with the dogs. At least with the kids, I have a pretty good idea of how old they are. Right. And then I try and gauge things off of, well, they're this old and this happened around the time I was pregnant with this one, and maybe that's how long ago this was. So 5 years ago, you and Mike came out for the first seminar that we met you at, and you had 2 dogs with you?
2 dogs, yep.
Okay.
I had gotten my girls, Brooke and Finn. They were litter mates. So I did the first thing wrong right out of the box.
Speaking from experience only, we've done it too. Never again.
Oh my goodness. It was so funny after we got the dogs and I found you guys online and on YouTube and all that stuff. I was like, oh, whoops. Okay, here we go. We'll just do this.
Now that I did that wrong, how can I fix it from here?
Exactly. Yeah, very thankful for all of those videos, man. I ate them up online.
Well, I'm glad that they were helpful. I'm glad you were also able to come out for a seminar and we were able to meet you and Mike and kind of start a relationship that has grown over 5 years now, I guess. Funny how time flies.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from there, I feel like the next kind of step with us was you wanted to get a puppy from us and got you on a deposit list. And then we were able to get you out of a special litter.
Yes. Oh.
So that was from our Hazel and Shooter breeding, which was a frozen artificial insemination. Ethan's uncle actually owns her sister. So you have Jade and then he has Cassie and they are just about 2 years old now. They turned 2 in July. Yeah. So they're growing up, not little pups anymore.
Cool story. Jade's birthday is the same exact day, just 2 years later, than my first 2 girls.
Really?
Same exact day, July 19th.
That's crazy.
I know.
Well, if you just keep getting dogs that are all born the same day, you never have to remember another birthday.
That's exactly right.
But that's awesome. I was really excited when we had the opportunity to offer you a puppy from that litter, and I knew that she was going to go to a good home. You'd been following along with our videos. Did you end up following along with the online course too with her?
I did. Yes, I did. I would dig through it and then, we'd get sidetracked or get moved off of other things, but the online course is great. Absolutely.
Well, I think that's one thing that I want to touch on and talk about is getting off track. So I think that for a lot of people, that's super natural to get a puppy, have all these great grand plans, and then life happens or work happens. I know you own multiple businesses.
Yep.
I'm in the same boat. And sometimes, unfortunately, our personal dogs end up taking a back seat, get put on the back burner, and we have to shift our goals sometimes.
Yes.
When we have puppy series and videos that we're doing, it really pushes us to stay on track with those puppies.
Sure.
But then if I've got a new puppy that isn't necessarily being filmed for a course, it's easy to get off track, especially when life happens.
Yeah, life and family. Yeah, for sure.
Because you have a coffee shop, a coffee business. I know that has been a struggle in the sense of when somebody doesn't show up or the coffee shops needs coverage, it's you.
It's me.
And then plans for training that day go whoop out the window.
Yeah. When you got to make cinnamon rolls or you got to show up for somebody's shift. And I have a great crew, but they also have lives too. They have children, stuff happens, kids get sick. And it's on your shoulders. If you want to sell coffee that day, sometimes you got to
Otherwise,
show
you
up.
got to close the shop. And it's a small
Correct.
business. It's similar to the kennel here. We only have so many employees. We're not a giant corporation where we have a whole list of people to call in if somebody's sick, or to have coverage with enough employees always, overage coverage.
Yeah.
And so you do have to, as the business owner, step up.
You fill in. Yep.
Sometimes that happens, or it stretches the employees that you do have on shift a little thin sometimes if somebody is sick or has car problems. Because yes, life happens. We all have lives. We all have bad weather, roads, things like that get in the way.
Kids get sick. The one thing too about the coffee business is there's not a huge profit margin in that. So you have to be really careful. You can't just bring your employee in for the 5th day in the row or pay any overtime for that. So you got to step up.
Yeah, if there's not a lot of margin, you also don't need 2 people on shift to cover just in case somebody can't make it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Definitely makes sense. So it's easy for things to get off track a little bit. And I think that resonates with a lot of people because not everyone, but a lot of people get a new puppy and it's so exciting, and it is so exciting. And they've got these plans, and maybe they're following along with the course, and the first couple weeks or the first couple months are just clicking right along and it's going so smooth. And then either your puppy throws you a curveball because they are, well, we're talking about short hairs, so very independent creatures that have a lot of curiosity and they have a lot of confidence also. So by the time they're like 16 weeks old, they have a lot less care about you and a lot more care about them and what they want to do. And if you don't have a structured plan to follow, you can get a little frustrated or a little lost and like, somebody throw me a lifeline.
Somebody help me. I found myself a couple times just actually going back over the same thing going, what am I supposed to do now? Like in a whirlwind. And then I'd look up the course and go, okay, we're on track here, but let's move through to the next, whether it was swinging into heel or the place training or the longer place training, the duration.
With duration. Duration makes life so much better with place training and puppies.
Yes.
It makes life so much easier. It's my literally favorite obedience behavior to teach a puppy ever. Especially because we usually have the chaos of our 2 children and multiple other dogs in the household. And if you've got a puppy that can't stay on a place for a duration, then you either have to resort to kenneling them in a crate or they not supervised time, which ends up getting Legos eaten and in the trash.
Mess somewhere. Yes.
But
exactly.
I think resonates with people as they get to a point where they either flounder because they're not sure what the next steps are. So they might not be following along with a course. They might not have, I know you utilize Patreon too for the guidance to say, this is what you need to be doing next, Tina.
Right.
And so they get a little lost, and it's like with dieting and exercise. You're like, well, I just ate this giant piece of cake, so my diet's out the window.
Yep.
And instead of saying, well, today I had a weak moment and I'm going to start again tomorrow, it's easy to just be like, well, it's a lost cause, or this puppy's never going to listen to me. So you just kind of quit and you lose faith that you can move forward with their training, even if you have a slip up, even if maybe your collar conditioning session didn't go great and you're like, oh, well, I've screwed him up now. Might as well just stop.
You're exactly right on that one. Yeah. There's times when you feel like you're doing really good. Right. And then all of a sudden, like life happens or you get called out or whatever. And then you sort of get stuck and you're like, what now? What now? I've found too lately to allow myself an afternoon to go, how about you just enjoy your dogs? Just enjoy the puppy for a little while. Just pet the puppy. Have fun. You don't always have to be training them or teaching them something, even though you are, right? The love, the caressing, the whatever. You're still doing something. You're shaping a behavior. But to sort of back off a little bit for an afternoon and go, just take a breath and enjoy what you're doing. And it's a lot easier then to get started the next day or the next afternoon. Depending.
For sure. So you mentioned taking a day off. I think people do very much get caught up in doing the cool and really like fun things, stuff that you can brag about, which is a lot of times formal training related, but they forget about the basics and that connection with your puppy and taking the time to have that connection and reconnect sometimes and being patient with them and just saying, you are a puppy too. You are a dog. You don't know what you don't know what you don't know. And I haven't taught you yet.
Exactly.
So we just need to kind of go at their pace sometimes and not only their pace, but our pace, because most people are learning as they go too. They don't have 10 years of experience training dogs or 20 years under their belt. They are first-time puppy owners and they're learning, watching the videos. You have to teach yourself first before you can teach your puppy. That's a lot of times. Right. And it's important to slow down and make sure you have a true understanding of where you're going and know that, hey, maybe today isn't a day that we can move forward on our training goals, but we can do other pieces like the socializing and the, just petting your puppy and messing with their ears and their paws, getting them tolerant of being handled. Those are things that get overlooked. Putting on an e-collar and having your puppy roll around like an alligator. Well, that wasn't maybe in the course to say, hey, if your puppy's going to roll around like an alligator, we don't want to condition that behavior over and over and over. Let's slow down and let's just make the training session about putting on and off our e-collar 15 times until they can sit there calmly and allow us to do it.
Correct.
And we think, oh, well, we've got to get this collar on. We got to get to the field or we got to get to our collar conditioning session. So I got it on and let's go. And then your puppy, anything they're doing, they're conditioning themselves to is like, well, this is how I put my collar on is like a bucking bronco. And you go, maybe I should have slowed down, thought about it a little bit more and worked through the issue at hand instead of just trying to get to the next step.
Exactly. That's a great point because that little puppy's going to be a bigger dog, and you're going to be in the field or you're going to be on the tailgate or something like that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's also important to give ourselves grace in the sense that, hey, maybe life does happen. I was planning to go to the field today and do this X, Y, and Z drill. And then I had to switch gears because my kid is sick or my childcare didn't come in or my employee needs a coverage shift. So you have to sometimes be able to switch gears and give yourself grace and go, well, just because I didn't make it to the field today doesn't mean my training is shot for the week.
Right.
We can pick it back up tomorrow. We can shift and adjust and be flexible. Even if it's not getting back to where we were going to do X, Y, and Z drill, maybe it's, well, we had the plans, we had all the pieces set up to do that, but now we can't this week. So we'll push that for next week, but we don't just have to cancel everything for the rest of the week. We can still say, well, we're going to do this. We're going to love on puppy today. We're going to maybe work a little bit more on re-engagement and making clicker training fun again or something. Just getting them re-engaged too. I know that sometimes puppies can get bored with training if they're always just doing the same old. So mix it up.
Mix it up. If something happens and I get sidetracked or get called out, I will load them up into the crates in the truck and take them. I take them to the coffee shop. I take that cocker all the time. And I've taken Jade and all my girls. They spend hours in their crate, in the shade or in where it's warm, just depending on the season. And then I'll bring them into the coffee shop. Socialization is huge and place training in that scenario.
High distraction environment.
Works great. So I can still get training sessions in, or we do a obedience walk, around the block sometimes.
Some healing. That's great. And that is a really important piece that I don't think people incorporate as much as we do. And it's one of those things that sometimes I don't always think to say, hey, you should be doing this because it just comes natural. It's how we live our lives. But every puppy we raise and develop, they come with us everywhere we go.
Yep.
We have to drive to Wichita for groceries or appointments. Well, puppy just rides along and I leave the car running with the heat or the AC.
Or the AC,
and they just hang out. They get a potty break. They go back in their crate. And those puppies learn so much from that. It's great socialization from car ride standpoint, pottying on leash, which is a huge thing for dogs to learn.
Yeah.
Especially if they just get the free roaming of the backyard all the time. Then they need to go on a road trip and they don't know how to go to bathroom on leash.
That's a big deal.
which is surprising. You don't think about it as being a big deal, but then you get a dog that won't go poop on leash and you get a constipation issue. So it is really important and an aspect of socialization that you can easily incorporate if you have to run errands, if you have to stop here, leave the car running. It's not going to cost you that much gas or electricity if you've got an electric car.
Right.
It's going to be really beneficial for them. And they learn patience. They learn, hey, we're going here, but it doesn't mean immediately we're doing something.
Right.
I can still just hang out in this crate and take a nap and do nothing. The art of doing nothing. Exactly. It's very important.
Very important. Yeah, 100%.
So that's great that even if you have to switch gears, you can still incorporate the dogs into some level of training. It's nice to be able to say, hey, I can't do this, but this is something that all dogs need is more healing, more healing, more healing. I don't think you can do too much healing with these dogs, especially dogs that have such incredible noses, so much innate curiosity that they want to use their nose to go and do what they want to do, which leads to pulling. And so it's a constant battle reminder of, hey, sniffing isn't healing.
Yeah, no.
So working on that in those situations and incorporating it into walks around the block or your place training in high distraction environments, that's awesome that you can incorporate those pieces into your everyday life, even when life changes gears on you.
I'm always thinking about my dogs no matter what I'm doing. So I'm always trying to find a way to sneak them in no matter what I'm doing. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit more about your training goals, training plans, because you were following along with the course, utilizing Patreon for some help as well. And I believe, kind of order of events, I came out to your guys' local NAVHDA test, and Charles and I were actually both out there
that was
judging.
cool.
It was a really cool weekend, and Jade was running. So we got to watch Jade run, and she did really, really well.
Yeah.
And at that point, what were your goals for her after finishing her natural ability test?
So Jade's goals, I have, as a whole, I love to compete. And Jade has all the pieces to be top shelf, top level, or at least that's what everybody tells me, right? But I know it in my heart because she just has the coolest little spirit. I'm working to make sure I'm worthy of her as we move forward because she's so smart and she just catches on so quick. So I spend most of my time trying to figure out how to make sure I can get the most out of her. But she got a perfect score in her natural ability, and she is brilliant in the field, but she is also a lot. She don't forget anything. And if she flushes something that doesn't fly real well or flies really well, she will spend the next hour. She marks it. She goes to try to find it, and she will bring it back. She will bring it back. But Jade herself, there's a lot of personal goals in that for me. Like I said, I just want to be worthy of her. I want to be the handler that takes her to the next level. I want to I try to be real careful because I am a little bit older, and I try not to say I want this specific. I try to set the goal, but keep it somewhat flexible. I want to prize her UT 100%. And I have a feeling that dog could go to the invitational. I don't know if I'm invitational worthy.
Of course you are.
Well, of course you are. Just keep thinking about it, but
we all go to the invitational for the first time.
Yeah.
It's not like I've done it forever and ever. There's always the first dog that you go with, and they're always a learning experience, whether you pass or fail.
Yep.
And you learn a lot. So it's always about learning. If you're not learning, you're not growing.
You're not growing. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Are you considering doing the gun dog test in preparation for the utility test with her?
Yes. My goal this weekend, and I've told Ethan this in multiple conversations. I want to look at the dog and figure out how to assess the dog and figure out what level to test them at. There's so many different ones you can do. And so was my goal for the weekend, really, was to have other eyes. When
And
you
evaluate
yeah,
her.
when you watch your dogs all the time, and I'm not very biased. I think my dogs are the best. And then the next day, I'm like, we can't do anything. It's
You're your harshest critic and your
Totally.
biggest fan.
Exactly. So having somebody else look at him and say, okay, this dog needs this, but I think we can test him at this level. So let's head that direction.
Great.
Right? Because we are busy and we do have the things, I have to sort of be relatively focused, and where I live, there's not a whole lot close, right? Well, you guys were talking about this the other day in the podcast. Trying to find a test is a challenge anyway. And so I just need to figure out what direction to go with them and what level they're ready for. Because I love to compete and I love to win, but I also love to learn as we get there, as we go there.
Okay.
And I've never done any of the AKC
That's
stuff.
what I was going to ask is if you have any goals or experience with AKC. And prior to Jade, and I know Diesel as well, you ran through NA. Have you done much more with NAVHDA or with NA stuff?
I had 2 other dogs. I had a Facebook whim puppy that I bought. Oh, he was the sweetest thing. He ended up being 90 pounds. 90 pounds. He was from...
You're talking about a GSP, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, gosh.
Uh-huh.
That's
We called him Timber.
giant.
Yeah, he was huge. Sweet baby. Anyway, because I do have some goals for future and, breed standards and that kind of thing, I knew that he wasn't necessarily going to fit in our program, our small program. And so I found a wonderful gentleman that actually bought him as a started dog. But I've had 2 other dogs that we NA tested. That's been the experience that I've had.
Okay.
Yep.
Which I'm going to applaud you, Tina, because being a small breeder, because you have a small kennel, 7T outfitters.
Yes.
And so a lot of times, and this is a generalization for all breeders, it's easy to turn a blind eye to some of the things and say, well, this is a really special dog. I'm just going to breed him anyway, even if he is way outside breed standards. Right. And it's a hard, especially if he did really well through his NA test and other pieces are, lining right up. It's hard to make those tough choices, especially when you are starting out, because it's an investment. You've invested time and money into him. And then to find out, as a full grown dog, he's going to be large. Way too big. And making the choice to move him on and finding him a great home.
Absolutely.
That's part of being a good ethical breeder, trying to hold to the breed standard, but always trying to improve upon the breed and breed better dogs. There's no such thing as a perfect dog. We're always trying to improve on them and find, complementary dogs to breed that have their health clearances and also meet breed standard and health clearances, and also trainability and testability. All of those things are great to be including in making decisions for breeding. But so I just wanted to take a second to say, good job.
Thank you.
It's hard to make those tough choices.
It is.
I know, especially in the beginning when you have a very small number of dogs. Yeah. It's really hard. Those first few dogs where you have to say they're not going to make the cut and move them on. It's so hard. It's so hard.
And I can't even imagine at the level you guys do. I work with a gentleman out of Utah, Brody Monks with 9 Mile Kennels, and he's in that same boat going, he's got some great dogs and great guide dogs, but as you start to weed them out, it is heartbreaking. But they, you find good places for them and you do right by them.
Right, of course.
That's part of it.
They're part of the family. They're part of the program. Right. And if for whatever reason they have to be moved on, then we do. And when we were a little bit smaller, there were only so many kennel spaces to go around too. And so you have to make the hard choices where he's Timber, great dog, right? If you had the space, just keep him for a family pet, for a hunting dog, for everything but the breeding program. But that's a spot taking away from another puppy that you could be raising, developing, and hopefully adding to the program.
That's exactly right.
And that's where we
the
were.
That's the ultimate decision maker there. Yep. Because if you want to grow or move forward, and if you have goals breeding wise or training wise, you have to make sure you have the dogs there that are going to get you there.
Yep. And if you spread yourself too thin with too many dogs, you're not doing them justice anyway. So it is a hard place to be. And we've been there. We have had the fortune to grow. We have a great kennel staff that help raise and train some of our puppies as well. Right. So it has allowed us to grow a little bit bigger, faster than we maybe would have, just doing it, Ethan and I, because minus the litter mate things, we raise like one puppy a year. Other than that, it gets a little sketchy. So
that's a lot.
It's a lot. But having a team, it allows us a lot of times to raise maybe 2 or 3 puppies a year, depending on the situation and the ages and when the litters are born and that sort of thing.
And then you really get a chance to assess those dogs and watch them as they move forward. That's a pretty handy thing to have for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
We're very lucky and fortunate to have that great team.
And I would imagine they feel very good about being able to do that too, because it's not like they could have not always can have a dog of that caliber, and then sort of get it handed to you. That's pretty cool.
And then they get the opportunity to learn and train and run them through the natural ability tests. And then we're looking at, as their experience grows and their learning grows, that then, what's the next step?
Yep.
So, getting back to the next step and evaluating, that's the fact that you are still learning and developing your program and also knowing less experience in the AKC world and less experience with the advanced stuff so far with NAVHDA.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know. And it's really hard to read the rule book and exactly picture everything. That's why we put those NAVHDA videos out a year or 2 ago now. Again, how many years was it? I don't know. Look it up on YouTube. But we have the playlist with the natural ability and the utility test, and we're looking to film at least the gun dog test and maybe refilm the natural ability and the utility test here this year if the weather holds and the pond stays full. But so that we can show each piece of the test, because it really allows people to see what the test is all about, hear instructions like they'd be given at the test, and then watch a dog work through those pieces of the test.
Absolutely. Very helpful. When I did the first NA test, I was part of the NAVHDA group, and then we did a mock test. And we tried to set it up, but it wasn't anything like the test. Best thing I ever did was I was a bird planter for the first day.
Yes.
And I get to plant because we do that for the preserve anyway. So I was planting birds all day, and I got to watch how everything worked. That was the best thing I could have done. Because then when I ran my dog the next day, I knew how it was going to play out.
Yep. Had a much better idea of at least the field part of that.
Exactly.
Test.
Yep.
And yes, I would encourage people, if you're part of a NAVHDA chapter, to volunteer. Go to the test, even if you don't have a puppy yet, or even if your puppy's older than natural ability now, still participate and help run, because the only way that these tests run is with volunteers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Best way to learn.
Your chapter is very young.
Very young.
I think that we were at their second test, Charles and I. So even when you have young chapters, they're learning how to put on training days, how to hold mock tests, and then putting on tests themselves. So
it's a big undertaking. We have a great chapter. The board has we've had a couple different, turnovers, but it's because they just don't have time. Somebody had a baby. Somebody was too far away. It's great.
Life changes things. The work-life dog training balance. I tell you what, it is you have all the balls in the air, juggling constantly to try and fit all the pieces.
Right.
So I'm glad you're here for this seminar. I know you really wanted to be here for the Lone Stone seminar.
Yes.
And again, life. Your truck broke down or something happened with your truck and you could not make it. And that was at the beginning of May. And so unfortunately couldn't make that one, but we had this Versatile Dog seminar coming up this weekend that you were able to make it. You came a day early to really capitalize on the time because you're a jaunt. How many hours?
It was the map says 9.5 hours, but because of the time frame that I left a little bit later on Thursday or yesterday because I needed to get puppies and everybody situated and make sure everybody was on track so that I could leave.
Yep.
It was almost 13 hours because I hit rush hour through Denver.
And you're pulling a trailer,
pulling
a camper.
a 25-foot camper.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, and when you travel with dogs, you always have to add time because it's not just a straight shot and stopping for you to pee. Well, then it's stopping for 4 dogs to pee.
Correct.
Or more if you're traveling with more. So,
and because of the time frame, we were in the heat. I could sort of foresee what direction and what time frame we were going to run through that hot part. I stopped and got ice bags and put ice bags in the kennels and just let them sit there. And I purchased some thermometers that I could Bluetooth on my phone so I could watch it the whole time.
Yep. Makes you have a little more confidence and that relief to know it's hot out, but the temperature in the kennel is this.
They're safe.
The dogs are safe. Yep. And that is a very handy tool. I know some people even get like little webcams so they can see the dogs in there. I think my dogs would eat the webcam. Yeah, who knows?
Worries me. These are pretty. You can't hardly see
like
them at
low
all.
profile. But so yes, a long travel to get out here.
Yes,
so I'm glad you're here for this weekend, and you capitalized on it because you came in. Well, you got in basically today.
Yeah,
early.
I pulled into the place at 2:30. I was plugging in my camper, trying to find the right plugs in at 2:30
a.m.
Yes, a.m.
Yes, I wanted to clarify that. Not just 2:30 in the afternoon you rolled in.
2:30 a.m. I laid down. We finally got the dogs situated, got myself situated, made sure we didn't pop a breaker running the AC because it's Kansas, not Colorado. And so by about 4:30, we finally got to sleep. And I set my alarm because I wasn't sure what time. I know you guys talked about the kennel opening at 5. So I set my alarm for 6 just because I was like, okay, 2 hours I should. And I texted Ethan. I said, okay. And I slugging coffee going, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
And you didn't have to be here at a specific time.
Nope.
Just wanted to be able to incorporate you into the day of training.
That is correct. I just wanted to tag along, and I wanted to when it was
hot
cooler.
Quick. So we do need to take advantage of the early mornings for field stuff, which is what we'll do for the seminar. Is hit it early, get all of our field stuff done, do more water stuff in the afternoon, and if we have anything that we need to work on in the kennel, it's air conditioned. So that's nice.
I'm an early riser anyway, so I was ready to go.
Perfect.
Ready to go.
But yes, as you left, you said you also had to situate your dogs because of the kennel. It's when you run a business that involves live animals, specifically a kennel, you are very tied down until you have a team, some staff that can alleviate that a little bit, but they have to be people that you truly can trust and rely on because we are talking about live animals here.
Live animals and patterns and rhythms matter. And especially, and I have puppies. They turned 4 weeks old today, and I wouldn't have had I gone to the other seminar. That was the timing that I planned my year around, but that didn't work out. So they're 4 weeks old today, and my mother-in-law saved the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that worked out really well. But
family's awesome like that.
I got some good, she loves to visit with the puppies. I have
She probably thinks it's like a vacation.
I have a little nanny cam on the puppies, and it sends me a notice when she comes in there. Oh, and she just talks to them like they are her grandkids. It's hilarious.
Well, good. It sounds like you've left them in very capable and good hands.
Yes.
So now we have the Versatile Dog Seminar that you are able to come. And I don't know how many dogs you were planning on coming to the Lone Stone Seminar with, but you're here with 3 short hairs and a little cocker puppy. Yeah. So going to really get a lot out of the seminar, going to be able to work through lots of different things with each of those dogs. That's the one thing that I really like about our seminars is they're customized to what you need and what your dog needs. So this is something, again, talking about what your dog needs and evaluating them and helping give you direction on what your next steps are, what goals you should have so that you have those realistic expectations.
Right.
So we're going to watch all of them work and say, this is what your dog needs to be prepared for this. Your dog is really close to this. Let's focus on accomplishing the gun dog test first. Or, your dog is also doing really good with their steadiness. Consider running an AKC test with them, telling you where they could go. Because your goals with your competitive nature is to run these hunt tests, which hunt tests aren't a competition, but you're competing against a standard. So it's still that, competitive spirit of knowing I got a prize.
Yeah.
So
there's a sense of accomplishment and that I live for that. I love that. I love to challenge myself and learn something new and win, whether it's win a prize or just succeed. That's my favorite thing. is just to feel like I'm accomplishing something.
And when you have a standard and you receive a score or a prize at the end, then you really know how you did.
Yeah.
There's a number, there's a score applied to it. So then you can say, oh, well, my duck search was a 3. I needed a 4 for that prize 1. So I know what I need to work on. Yeah. And it could just be an off day. Dogs have off days. We have off days. It happens.
I have a score sheet on my mirror because I gun dog. Well, it was the UPT last year. And the mama dog that I have, and she blanked the duck drag. She refused to pick it up. We did really good in everything else. And she just, Cheryl goes, oh, does she like ducks? And I was like, I don't think so. That's been a challenge. She goes, yeah, she's ran over it 3 times. I was like, oh, yeah, never mind. But I put that score sheet on my mirror and it's been there all winter. And that's one of those dogs that I'm ready because I force fetched her this year, train retrieve, so that we could accomplish that. But she was one of the dogs I was going to bring to the Lone Stone that didn't make it this time.
And she's your mama dog,
That's
so she
Yep.
can't be here this time.
She's mad.
Yeah. Well, you also will be working with your dogs, but the cool part of our seminars is not only are we going to be working on what Jade needs and Diesel needs and Tex, and then what's your cocker's name?
Quill.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
So what they need, and we're also going to be working on what you need from a sense of handling, knowing what your next steps are, and you get to watch everybody else that's here's training sessions because Angelo's here. He's prepping Frida for the invite. You have goals for that someday.
Yeah.
So you can watch and learn when he's working through things.
Yeah.
Kara's here with Misha. She was actually at the Lone Stone seminar as well with Angelo, not with Angelo, but they were both there. And she's working on the gun dog test with Misha.
Yep.
So you'll get to see pieces of that and what she's struggling on. Some duck stuff will help work with her on that you'll be able to take those pieces and apply it even though you don't have your mama dog with you.
Yes.
A lot of the things that are applying and you're seeing and working through, you're going to put those in your tool belt and take them home.
You can learn a lot by watching because you're not stuck. You're not in your head trying to figure out what your dog or going, I know my dog knows this. When you actually can watch somebody else and you can see it from the outside, you learn so much.
Which is why videoing yourself so that you can play it back later and go, because it is like watching someone else then when you're not in the heat of the moment, handling the collar, handling the dog, trying to gun, do all the pieces. You can actually take a step back, watch what played out and go, oh, I didn't even realize I did that.
Yep.
Or, oh my gosh, my timing was terrible. And you'll recognize those things. And ultimately they'll make you a better dog trainer. And I know that you do a little bit of the video work with Ethan on Patreon and worked through some of the train retrieve stuff, which is really valuable from a more one-on-one customized standpoint than just following along with the course. Because sometimes you have to go slower or you have to take steps back or your dog is ready for more and you didn't know they were ready for more. So
it really makes you accountable too. Oh, is this your goal? Oh, yeah. Well, then this is how you get there. This is not how you get there. So it really holds you accountable. Or if you schedule a time.
And so the nice thing about Patreon is you can schedule these live calls, and Tina has done quite a few of them.
Yep.
Sometimes, again, life happens, and you have to reschedule those calls.
Yep.
And we are here to be flexible with you and be able to say, hey, we get it. It didn't happen. But we're going to get you to reschedule that so that we can say, Tina, where you at?
Where you at?
Are you making the progress in the training goals that you have?
Yep. It holds you accountable. Yeah. I can't always do the video. I can't always film the whole thing, but I can talk and I can say, hey, this is what happened. This is what happened. Well, that's not going to get you where you need to go. I've heard it a couple times. Ethan will say, well, what does your dog need? Not what do you need or what do you want or what do you think? What does your dog need? And it changes your perspective a little bit, because you want to check these boxes off and you want to work towards what you think. When I take a step back and think, what does Jade need in order to accomplish this? It's completely different than what I thought the first time.
Yeah, or what your plan was to work on sometimes.
Exactly.
And I think that that's a really great point is what you need or what your dog needs is a lot of times different than what you can do.
Yes.
So let's say you work a 9 to 5, you live in town. This is a normal scenario for a lot of people, and they can only get birds on the weekend. So what their dog really needs is bird work.
Yeah.
they don't need, let's say, 600 retrieves during the week.
Right. Playing fetch
In the backyard. But that's what they can do because they live in town. They have a bumper, they have a backyard, or they have a park. So they go do 500 retrieves during the week, which is not what that dog needs, but it's what they can do. And then by the time the weekend rolls around, which is what they need that bird work. They need those sequences set up. The dog's burnout, tired, and bored of training.
Yep.
We overdid it. And now what we needed to work on, we can't work on because we don't have a dog that's giving us their all.
Yep.
So I think that is something that a lot of people struggle to recognize, and having outside help, a training partner, somebody on Patreon, going to these seminars to say, hey, Tina, Jade doesn't need any more work on X, Y, or Z. Her struggle is steadiness, or her struggle is her duck search.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. And guess what? A lot of times, if we're struggling in steadiness, our duck search probably going to be better.
Yeah.
Sometimes if we're doing not so great in our duck search, it's because our steadiness is super, super solid. Because a really steady dog a lot of times doesn't have the independence because they're so obedient in the field to go out and do the duck search. So it is sometimes about sequences. And sometimes we say, hey, we need to take a step back from this and only work on this.
Yep.
So even if you can go to the field a lot, but your dog needs the duck search and it's hard to find a duck search pond, you got to make it a priority if you want to reach those goals. And sometimes, let's say, you were mentioning you don't really have a great duck search pond near you, right?
Well, I don't have one. My pond is 10 acres.
That's giant.
It's way too big. It's way too big. Now, my mom has a great duck search pond, so I get a really good excuse to go see my mom, but it's 20 miles. So we load everything up and drive up there.
Girl, 20 miles?
I know.
Where? We now finally have our own duck search pond that we had to build on our property, but previously it was hours to find good duck search water. So don't cry me a river. Yeah. But what you need to do, or what she needs to work on, is duck search, not steadiness. I'm just saying for an example, because I need to see her this weekend. But instead of going and working birds, because that's easy, that's in the backyard, you got pigeons, you got whatever.
We got pheasants. Yeah.
You need to say, I'm saving my training time for what she needs. And I get it. When you do duck search stuff, you get your launchers, you get your ducks, you get your kayak, you get your dogs loaded up. It's the amount of stuff that it takes to do some of this.
I saw that this morning with Charles loading all the dogs and the kayaks and all. And I don't do the kayaks. We haven't done that one yet.
Diesel. Diesel agrees that you haven't done it because he was shocked by that.
He did not like it at first at all. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But having all of those tools that you may need, maybe not with every dog, but available so that you're not driving 20 miles back to pick something up, having it all prepared and making a morning of it, that's what people don't always make the commitment to do, because it is a lot of work to load all this stuff up. It's just so much easier to just play in the backyard.
Yeah, or throw a bumper. Yeah, even throwing it in the water, you can get sidetracked and get off track if you do that.
So doing what you need, not what you can, is important. And that's one of the things, too, at these seminars that we hold, is they are customized. So we're not running every dog here through the exact same drill.
Right.
We're going to modify those drills and talk about what this dog needs. If we've got a young puppy here prepping for NA, they're not going to be doing some of the stuff that these UT or maybe invite dogs or, AKC senior hunter dogs, whatever we've got. Even if we've got some people here that are just planning on hunting their dog, they're not going to maybe work on some of the NA stuff that we're talking about. Right. So we're going to customize. We're going to work on what these dogs need, not, we've got 10 dogs here and all 10 dogs are going to heel around in a circle for 5 minutes. And then we're going to play 6 retrieves. And then we're going to, just do this whole cookie cutter process. That's not going to help any dog really get the most out of this seminar or handler out of this seminar.
I think what you guys are doing too, having all of the trainers, that's a huge deal, because if you're not actually working your dog on this part, there's a trainer over on this side saying, hey, do this with this dog. I think that's a great That's a great addition to your
because we have, so it's Ethan and I, as well as Charles and Jess and Tessa will all be here helping with the seminar, running stations. That's what we ended up finding worked so well at the Lone Stone seminar. We're always learning.
Sure.
If we're not learning, we're not growing either.
It.
And it was awesome to have on Sunday, we had separated into these stations, and it worked well too, because it gave us Saturday to evaluate truly where the dogs were at.
Right.
Some people are very good at thinking their dogs are further along than they are. And then if we had put them in that scenario, we go, oh, they're not ready. No, back it up.
Yeah.
And so setting up Sunday a little more appropriately for what those dogs needed and doing it in more of a station. So, hey, any of the dogs that need to work on tracking, we're going to be over here working on tracking. Any of the dogs that need to work on marking drills are going to be over here working on marking drills. Any of the dogs that need to be in the field, we're going to be in the field, whether it's on launchers, whether it's with chucker, whatever. No, if we're just NA puppy steady or if we're utility dog steady, we'll do those in different sequences with, launchers or not launchers. And we set all those things up, and then dogs can work through those stations, give your dog a break, cool off, go watch what's happening at the next station. Then once that dog's had a chance to kind of cool off, because we can't just run them into the ground either. Give them a break. Then they can come up, run that drill, go take a break, watch what's happening over here, then go run through that sequence of things. I
think it's great. Great setup. I'm excited for tomorrow. I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. You're going to be exhausted and run ragged with 4 dogs here.
Yes.
Working through all the pieces.
That's the point, right? You got to make hay while the sun's shining.
There you go.
Let's get it.
And those dogs, honestly, are going to be smoked at the end of the day, too. So your trip home is going to be, I would say, pretty smooth, because nobody's going to want to have to stop to pee. They're going to just want to sleep the whole way home.
Yep. I'm going to have to check for heartbeats.
You too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Lots of coffee.
Lots of coffee. Yep. I should sleep better tonight. So that's good now that we're parked.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where they're at, where all of them are at, give you guidance on where they need to be going, what your, true realistic expectations and goals would be for them, and a realistic timeline for those goals. Jade's young. She's 2. Yeah. Most likely, I won't be telling you to run her through utility until maybe next year.
Well, it's interesting, because you feel like when you start stepping into this realm a little bit, or for me, in my experience, or lack thereof, you feel like you got to push, and you got to push for the next level, and I got to do this, and I did this, and now I got to go to this one. The summer kind of kicked me, going, hey, I don't think you should do that with this dog. Let's enjoy this process a little bit and just see how much better she does or he does with that. Same with myself. Take the pressure off just a little bit. And again, like I said earlier, enjoy it.
Enjoy it, learn from it. Let your dog be a dog a little bit. Yeah. Go hunting with them. It's not just train, test all the time. Yeah. Let's let the dogs do what we've just trained and worked with them to do now. Let's actually go hunting. Let's do the fun stuff.
Oh, I'm so excited. I did my first wild bird hunting trip last year. First ever.
That's awesome. Where'd you go?
We went to Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
were you on pheasants, or did you do some grouse?
The sharp-tail.
Sharp-tail? Ooh, that's a fun one.
I know. I was so pumped, excited, and it was really cool because I was invited back because I was a good guest.
Nice. That's
I was not a complainer,
great.
Yeah.
And you must have not brought dogs that were annoying.
No. They love the porcupines, though. I got to tell you, Jade, so both my girls, Brooke and Finn, they found it right out of the box, and we were doing the whole porcupine pulling quill thing. Jade is so funny because it was the last day, and they found it, and then we called her off because we could tell what they were doing. And so called her off, and she did so good, came by. And then that girl,
she has the memory.
We're headed this way, and she literally turns and buzz bombs that thing. So it got her in the side of the face, not head on, because she was running by it, trying to. And sure enough, right down the side.
Well, at least it wasn't all in her mouth or anything like that, because those mouth ones are so hard. Yeah. And depending on how bad they get, sometimes you can't pull them yourself, and you got to go to the vet. And Nebraska is very remote.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of remote places in the U.S. I mean, there's some remote places in Kansas and South Dakota and Colorado and all over. So sometimes you get into those really remote places where you're so far from a vet, but when you need one,
You got to go.
You got to go.
You got to go. Yeah, for sure.
Well,
We're hoping to go to Montana this year. My training buddy, he comes out once a week. He's one of our NAVHDA. He's the test secretary. His name is Bobby. Great guy. He helps me with the dogs, keeps moving them forward. And he trains professionally out there, whatever. But we're going to Montana this year. He goes, you want to go to Montana or North Dakota? So we got to pick Montana.
Awesome.
I know.
You're just putting these hunts in your bag, and your dogs are going to gain more experience from it. And you're going to have fun knowing all of these pieces that we've worked on are applying even in hunting. So, but you have to take the time to enjoy it. It's not just, it's not a race. It's a journey. So it's not like you're going to get a prize that your dog did this at 2 years old or 3 years old or 6 years old. It doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as you're continuing to make progress, you are, you still have goals. It doesn't matter if it takes you 2, 4, 6 years to get there, especially in the learning stages for you, because you're going to learn a lot from that. And then you're going to be able to apply that to your next dog, and maybe it'll go a little bit faster. But it isn't a race. It's just enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride.
Journey. Same with children when you're raising children. Same concept. Yeah, for sure.
If you rush through it, you're going to miss it when it's gone.
Yep. Miss more of it than you think. That's for sure. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited that you got to make it out here for this seminar. Yep. No truck issues this time.
No,
so
I didn't have a truck. I had a truck forever on my own vehicle, and we sold it. We were doing the right thing and, paying bills and doing that thing for a year. I looked for the right truck, and I got my deal, and I told my husband, I'm going this time. There's nothing. He looks at me and goes, okay. Yep.
That's the right answer.
That's what I told him too. So we do some hunting. We do some big game hunting, and there's a whole bunch of people coming out in September for bow hunting. Boys, a hunting camp. I'm like, I'm out. I'm taking my dogs and we're going bird hunting.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets to do his thing. You get to do your thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the plan.
So Tina, we talked a little bit about your other businesses and Instagram, Facebook, all the social media things. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and what other businesses you do? Because you got the coffee shop, you got the 7T Outfitters. I know you have, you just gave me some samples. Should have had them sitting over here of some like recovery creams. So tell us about that.
Okay. So we have 7T Outfitters. And that is we do big game hunting and we do bird hunting. We have preserve. We do pheasants, chukar, and quail. We have almost 20,000 acres leased for all these different things. We hunt right on the river. It's amazing, right on the Colorado River. I have the coffee shop. It's called the Little Coffee Shack. It is in Parachute. I've had that for about 12 years now. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. A lot of work. Homemade cinnamon rolls, homemade burritos, all the things.
Yum.
My husband is a property manager, so we do all that, but the 2717 is his baby.
Okay.
And it is a recovery cream. We work with UFC Bo Nickel and some other people. There's a lot of people that it's starting to really come on, but it is it'd do better if you just look it up, 2717recovery.com. Because it's good stuff. It's not Bengay, but it has copper peptides and helps your body heal itself, basically. It's good stuff. I'm trying to think what else we do outside of
Is that dogs. Not enough? No, I'm just kidding.
I have 4 grandchildren. My daughter does raw milk. I mean, we come from a long line of entrepreneurs, so.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. That's very fulfilling. So on social media, can they find you at all of those places? 7T Outfitters.
7TOutfitters.com, Instagram, Facebook, all of those. Yep. Yeah, you can reach out. We also have, on the website, they can do the email thing. I was just thinking about, oh, wow, yeah, I do all of that. I got to do memberships here real quick.
Yeah. It's you wear all the hats when you run a business because it's not just the coffee shop. Then somebody has to pay the bills and write the checks and order the things. So
yeah, all of the stuff. It's a lot, but it's cool. It's cool. If I wasn't busy,
you'd be bored.
Yeah, you'd be bored.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
I feel the same way. Ethan and I like to stay busy. So
just go. You got to do it, man. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to catch up and chat, and I'm excited for the weekend.
Yes, same. Thanks. I'm so excited. And maybe you guys come out. and do a clinic out with
I
us.
know. We need to do it. You've invited us out to do a seminar out there, and we just have not been able to make it happen.
The scheduling.
The young kid thing makes it so hard.
Ooh,
but
yeah.
you said bring them with, so I'm taking you up on it.
I love babies. Bring them out. Let's go.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We'll plan it.
Thank you.